She's on what would probably be a dream trip for guys like us.
Was she on a staycation?
So she's off with a girlfriend of hers. They went glamping at Mount Rushmore.
I don't like that term.
What is that? Yeah,
glamping, glamorous camping.
Doesn't it sound? It's basically not camping.
Well,
so that's when you bring the TV. And
no. It's just a nice tent.
Oh,
like
what's that mean? Is it like a Harry Potter nice tent where you go in and it's like
think of
inflatable tents?
Think of back when the English raped and pillaged Africa.
I wasn't
like
there.
That. Like
how is that
big nice tent?
Yeah.
Are you talking? No, you're thinking
bed.
You're thinking like Arabian Nights, like those kind of tents
with the fluffy pillows.
Yes. Yeah. I'd be
when they're roughing it at Coachella, that kind of style.
It's glamorous camping.
Glamorous camping. But my wife, like for us, we'd be like, man, this is really nice. My wife though, and her friend, they're like, it was cold and we had to light a fire. They chop the wood for you. They bring you the fire into your big tent, and it's a stove. They have like a metal stove with a chimney.
Tent has a chimney.
Yeah. I
was like,
this is roughing it.
How was the shower? It wasn't as hot as I normally like.
They didn't say that,
did they? I had to pull a string to get the water to come out. And I'm like, well, but let's be fair though. I don't know how your wife is. I don't know. Do you have a girlfriend, fiance? Yeah. Congratulations.
How long have you been engaged?
I
was engaged for 7 years.
Definitely. No, we've only been together for 2 years.
I was engaged for about 3 weeks.
Well, that's because you slip them past the goalie. Like, that's how that works.
It was a shotgun wedding.
Yeah.
Well, kind of.
Okay.
Except I was the one holding the shotgun. No, so my wife, whenever I go in the shower after my wife has been in there, it looks like somebody tried to fog for bugs. Like, it is so steamy. She likes that water hot.
My wife likes that. Does your fiance like that?
The same way.
Why do they do that?
And it's
because it reminds them of where they're
get
from.
In the shower with me, and I'm like, no, you're going to burn me to death.
Yeah. It's magma.
That's water.
Yeah. It's like an Icelandic volcano in here.
Yeah.
Why do all of our wives do that? Or
it reminds them of hell where they're from.
Might be.
So we haven't done this in 2 months because we needed a break. I mean, obviously, it's not like, oh, this is just a huge source of income for us. So we were like, he had a bunch of shit to do. Dan had a bunch of shit to do, and I was like, I can't do this alone because I don't do karaoke, but I'll do a band. So, and you and I have been talking over the last 2 months, like just to sit down and chat, because I find you like a really, really like intelligent, basically like theologian, and you're down some of the rabbit holes that I'm down as far as like what truth is, and what we haven't been told all our lives.
Yeah.
But you're also a brilliant artist. And I love all of your art. I can't afford any of it.
Me either. I couldn't afford it.
How much does one of your pieces go for?
Like $8,000.
What?
Yeah.
I can't afford it.
And are you selling a lot?
No.
Okay.
But it's to me, it's worth it. Like it's and maybe we could.
Art is worth what it's worth.
So how do you price that?
Well, I have 2 different pricing systems. I price lower for like commission works, and I price extremely high for my own work. So if you give me a picture of you and your wife, there is none of my creativity, none of my thought goes into that. I look at a picture, I paint it. I can do that for $700-800. Now for my own pieces, I have to come up with an idea, conceptualize a way to visualize it so that the viewer can kind of understand what I'm saying. Photograph it, find the models. And so there's more of me that goes into my actual art. And that's why I put a higher value on that. You're like buying my ideas.
So to me, like, so your art is very like real life. It's, I don't know what the term is in the art world.
Yeah, realism.
Yeah, realism, right? So a lot of the times, is it like you painting from a photo?
Yeah, I always use photographs.
Okay, so I'm lazy. Why not just take the photo?
Yeah, you take the photo.
You know what I mean? I'm like, here, I'll blow this up for you.
But that's the thing too, like, you only see the art, you never see the photo. They look really different. The photo is just a reference.
It's almost like the difference in like in my world, it's like the difference between like film and digital. It's almost like film has like this breath to it, this organic thing to it that you just can't explain.
Yeah.
As opposed to digital, where it's I don't know, man. It's almost like
too realistic.
It's almost soulless.
So, so there's no art to it. Yeah.
Because if you think about like film, it's a mechanical process, right? It's not like ones and zeros. Like there's a like you don't really need power to make film.
It's like listening to, or it's like watching, a band play on YouTube versus going to see them play live.
Yeah.
Like you actually, the human element is there.
So I don't think people understand what artists, how artists make money. Right.
Yeah.
And so
they don't.
Yeah. Everyone just like, so artists, I found in my experience over like, my whole life that like something about people who are artistic, I almost said autistic. Everything looks like a square peg in a round hole. It seems to me that a lot of people that are artistic don't understand the business side of it, like how to survive.
Most of us don't.
Yeah. Why do you think that is?
I think there's a lot of gatekeeping in the art world.
Ooh,
I
this
heard
is interesting.
Some statistics like years ago that there's literally millions of artists, but there's like 0.01% of people who are career artists who live solely from producing and selling art. It's very, very small.
When you say gatekeeping, is that like a person?
Institutions. So,
tell me about this. Because this is like it seems like it's pervasive, like in every industry. Like there's these,
galleries and curators get paid when they sell pieces too. So these institutions can choose who they deem marketable and only focus on them. And if the galleries and the museums and the curators don't like your art, you're not getting into the game.
What if they don't like you?
It doesn't.
You're not
matter.
getting in the game.
It doesn't matter if they don't.
See,
like
I always
you.
found. Do you ever like you go so like in your business, like you go around to like all these hoity-toity things to buy to buy stuff for your business, right? And I even when I was a kid, I was like, it's really strange to me that like why are we told what is good and what is bad as far as like sight, sound, and feeling, right? I never understood that. Where I'm like, it's just a bunch of douchebags in Manhattan who are saying this is art.
Yeah, I forgot the artist's name, but he produced this really long canvas. It's probably 14 feet long. It's like really long, probably about 7 feet high. The whole entire canvas is blue, a dark shade of blue. To the left side, not all the way to the edge, there's a white stripe going down, and that's the painting. It's like worth $6-7 million.
How does that happen?
And because different institutions tell you that this art is worth this much.
Could it also be money laundering?
I think the NFTs were absolutely money laundering.
Oh, that's what's going on?
I'm pretty sure.
Art is the biggest money laundering scheme in the world.
Yeah.
It is the number one way that people launder money or move money, bribes, all that. Like,
see, but isn't that the fucked up thing where it's like you as like, you and people who actually give a damn about art, like you just want to make a living where other people are like, yo, I know this guy whose dad might be the president.
Right.
And he's doing finger paints and they're selling for $800,000 or, you know what I mean?
You got to invest in that.
Uh-huh.
I don't understand conceptually. Like in the last few years, I've just, my whole life is now like, nothing makes sense to me.
And the more we learn, the more we realize we don't really understand
anything.
A lot of these systems.
Yeah.
And I still don't have like a full grasp on it. I watched this one documentary called The Price of Everything. And they took Basquiat as an example where, while he was alive, he sold a painting for $36,000. And then the owner of that painting sold it for like $500,000. And then the next owner sold it for like $4 million. And now some of his art is worth like 30, 40 million because that's what the institutions deem it as, where originally he only sold it for $36,000.
I have a friend in Scranton who has a Basquiat in his apartment.
Dude, that's crazy. Yeah. I know one guy who said, I did a show with him. I can't call his name right now, but he said it. Basquiat gifted him a little drawing.
Really?
Yeah. He sold it off too early though. He sold it for a couple grand right before his name started to peak into like the millions.
And he's like, oh, God damn it.
He's like, damn, I should have held on
I
to
think
it a little bit
Van
longer.
Gogh died like of poverty.
Yeah.
Like,
why? So like
it's not new. It's
your whole adult life has been involved in art, correct?
Almost my entire life. Yeah.
Yeah. So at what point did you realize like all this gatekeeper shit? Like, were you like idealistic when you started doing it? Were you like, oh man, like I'm going to like, I see a lot of musicians and actors and stuff and, even fucking podcast people who are like, we're going to be billionaires. And I'm like, dude, you don't play the game, man. Like, so like at what point were you like, where did it go from idealism to like, what a kick in the nuts?
Very early on.
You got this early?
Very early on.
Yeah.
What killed your soul?
So I just picked up the craft of oil painting like in my late 20s out of boredom, sheer boredom. I did a couple of pieces.
Like a new challenge?
Yeah, because like I said, I've always been that art kid, but for like my late teens and early 20s, I was just doing a lot of fucking off and dumb shit. And I really didn't produce any art for almost a decade. Like the golden years where in my prime, I should have been coming up with concepts and ideas and making art. I was just knocking around in the streets doing dumb shit. And so,
like, what's dumb shit?
Doing hood rat stuff with his friends.
Hood rat stuff with my friends.
What's
man.
hood rat stuff?
Smoking with cigarettes and driving without a license. You know?
Smoking cigarettes, driving without a license.
We all kind of did that though at that age. I mean, that's kind of what you do at that time. If we all went back in time, we're like, I fucked off too much. Like when I was 20 to 24, just in the bars, fucking trying to be in a band to be famous. Like, I should have been doing something better with my life at that time.
Yeah, just
and I'd be in a better place
focused.
now.
Yeah. But I don't know. Like once I picked up the craft and
Well, wait a second. You were driving around without a license, smoking cigarettes.
Smoking cigarettes, man.
What was your brand?
My brand?
Yeah, what were you smoking? Please don't say
Camel
menthols.
Wides.
Okay, thank God.
Camel Wides.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
You never had those?
I knew I liked you.
No.
Yeah.
So at what point were you like, I got to stop fucking around?
There was just one day I was just chilling by myself and literally couldn't think of anything to do. I had my own crib, I had a car, had a job, had like females I can mess with, had games and
What do you mean?
homies.
Like, what do you mean females? You can go to like see a show?
He had a Rolodex.
Oh, I had had some female friends, but like when I'm sitting there on a Saturday, like I need something to do, and nothing was like jumping to me. Didn't want to hang with anybody. Didn't want to like chill with girls or do nothing. And then I was like, you know what? Might paint something.
Yeah.
And literally had no supplies in my house.
Wait, you had never painted before that?
I had painted
Okay.
before. Like I had my high school teacher was
Got it.
really good and she taught me a lot of stuff. But like with no art supplies, I just went to the store and just grabbed a canvas and like a Bob Ross paint set and came back home
And then made happy little trees?
no, I painted Afro Samurai the first time.
Oh, really?
What?
That was the first painting I did was a little painting of Afro Samurai.
Is that a real person or character that I just don't
It's a
know
cartoon,
of?
right?
Yeah, it's a cartoon.
yeah.
It's,
It used to be on Adult Swim.
Yeah.
Was it Sam Jackson?
Samuel L. Jackson and Wu-Tang did the soundtrack.
Oh, that's
for it.
right. Yeah, they did.
What?
Yeah, you don't know this?
Badass, yo.
Yeah, so that-
Okay, I got to find
It's
this.
an anime. It's not like no little kid stuff. It's like
No,
some
it's like
real-
it's not. It's adult.
and
it's adult as shit.
He's kind of psychopath, like a psychopath because he has Ninja who is like this spirit guy.
Yeah.
Ninja just sits around and smoke weed all the time, but nobody can hear him or see him but Afro.
I think they're making a movie.
It's just
of
like
it.
Jiminy Cricket. It's
Yeah,
like that's
yeah.
who it is.
It's a whole crazy
I
story.
mean, yeah, not no.
Yeah, but that's not what it. That's not what
That's
what the
not their
cartoon
version
looks
of
like.
it.
Not at all.
Wow.
So when you did that, right? Out of like,
Boredom.
did you like hit the end of the internet and you're like, all right, I got to go do something else?
Well, basically, yeah. And painted a couple pictures and I'm like, I might do this, just to have something to do. And then a buddy of mine I knew, he had like a loft apartment. He would throw like grunge band concerts and like heavy metal concerts in the bottom of the building. And then one day he was like, I might do like a little art get together, man. I know you be paint sometimes. Get some guys and do like a little show. And I hung some art in there and a lot of people were giving me good feedback. And I was like, okay, I might be able to, do something with this. And then I started trying to think of ideas like, what kind of art can I make that would sell, that people would buy? From South Carolina, people like tractors and like farmlands, landscapes, and
Yeah.
the Gamecocks. They love roosters and stuff with chickens and.
Oh, can I
shit.
show you
Yeah.
Can I show you my belt buckle?
Oh, sweet Jesus.
Oh my God, he's been waiting on this. Cocky.
Did you know they're going to change the name from Gamecocks to something else?
No,
Game
I didn't.
vaginas.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, they're changing the name.
What?
Yeah, I don't know.
I think there was a whole story about the owners of the mascot of the school, and the new owners didn't want to keep the name of it cocky or something. So yeah, there's a whole thing on the internet. And
Yeah.
people submitted like all these funny names for it.
Do you think it's cliche though? Like being from South Carolina, you're like, oh, tractors.
Kind
This
of,
seems
but
like it
that's
would
what-
sell.
That's what people like.
Yeah.
That's what people
Really?
like.
So
down
like
there.
your early art is tractors and landscapes of fucking cornfields and shit like
Basically.
that. Are you shitting me?
No.
Gamecocks.
No. And so I started selling a couple of pieces, and I'm like,
you got to sell.
I was like, if I get real good, I'm fucking famous. I'll be a goddamn millionaire.
I'll be the best tractor artist ever.
I swear. And then like really trying to get into more bigger galleries and stuff. It wasn't working. And people weren't like acknowledging my art. And then I kind of understood, like I was talking to this one guy who's doing art too, but he graduated from college, from art school. And it seems like if you are a good artist and you do have an alma mater, they try to push their students harder and say, look what we produce. Look at this guy that we produced.
Yeah, like bragging
trained.
rights.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
you know why? Because that allows them to fundraise.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's a whole loop. And so if you have a good art school or university that you went to, that can propel you into a bigger arena. I never went to school, so I didn't have that advantage. And then
I never thought of that.
Oh yeah, man.
That's huge. Yeah, that's got to be a huge advantage.
It definitely. And just having an art degree.
If you give us your money, we'll promote you after.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then we'll ask you for more money once you're rich and famous.
And if you're really good, they're going to go hardcore for you. It's like, look, we've created this great artist. And, you will get into like a bigger circle just by having the talent in a good school backing you. So I didn't have that. And I was basically like starting over from scratch, trying to train myself how to paint. And so I was just like, I felt like I was behind the curveball where I said those 10 years where I wasn't doing anything. I could have been like training myself
honing your craft.
Yeah, exactly. But now it's just like, I've been doing it for so long. I see that there is money in it. I can sell more commissions than my own personal pieces. But it's not about the money anymore for me. I already realized that. I just keep a regular job.
Yeah.
I live kind of comfortably, and my art just is my passion now. And so if a millionaire buys one of my paintings and I gain this recognition, that's great. But if nobody ever like really recognizes me on a national or like international scale, I'm fine with that too.
Yeah, but does that like it seems like you mentioned Gatekeepers before, and it seems like I used to live in LA, right? So, and I was really fortunate because every now and again you would hang out with people who were like, oh, they're big deals.
Yeah.
But I found it to be like a vapid experience. Like it was a hollow experience, like hanging out with a lot of these people who were, I guess, gatekeepers. So, I mean, it's one of those things where like, as an artist, is that the selling your soul? Like where you end up like being a part of this club and you kind of never, and the club has always shit on you your whole life.
Yeah.
And now you're part of it, and you're like, I don't want to be part of this.
Just
club.
a piece of production now, and you have to keep producing a certain type of art to stay relevant. Like
So like if you try to, so in other words, like if you try to like evolve as an artist, they're gonna stop.
People don't like that.
So keep making the Campbell soup cans.
Yep.
Isn't that fucked?
And you change too much, you don't like it. What was it? Bob Dylan, when he started using electric guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah, the night
like,
the
"Fuck
music.
you,
Yeah,
man,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
not real music. I'm trying to evolve. I'm trying to do something different. But people don't like that. So if you want to stay relevant and keep producing what you're producing, we'll keep your name in there. And mostly everything is not what you know, is who you know.
That is so.
And art is big money. There is big money in art.
Money.
Like you hear these auctions, $70 million for dumbass shit.
My favorite was the one where
Hunter Biden's macaroni necklace.
Yeah. I loved the one where somebody bought the Banksy and then it immediately went to the shredder.
It was perfect.
It was amazing.
And now it's worth more.
Now it's worth like triple.
Isn't that fucking insane?
Yeah. But see, that's the passion in it. Like,
yeah,
that is some real creative shit. And that's probably one of the most well-known incidents in the art world. But for him to even conceive of that, like to sit down and think of that shit, like
it's a bit anarchistic, don't you think? It's a bit like
all of
that's what makes it what it is, though. Like,
all of his art is everything he does is fuck the system.
Yeah, but that's okay. So here's the weird thing about Banksy. He's like, fuck all y'all, but all y'all want my shit,
and he still make millions off of this shit.
Yeah.
And whoever, I forgot what the original bid was, but it was up into the millions already.
Absolutely.
3 million. I think it was like 2.8 something too. Yeah.
And then fuck you and your money.
But it makes it's so weird. It's almost like a
I would want it more after that. because now it's not just the Banksy, it's the Banksy that everybody's talking about.
Yep.
Now it went from 3 million to 50 million like overnight.
But isn't it? I always try to understand human psychology.
But then at the same time, not to cut you off,
you just did, Travis. Thanks.
He came to America for a couple months. He chilled in New York on the corner.
Do you see that he was selling
paintings for $60? Original art for $60. Nobody. He said he made like a couple dollars because nobody knew who he was because he hardly ever shows his face. And like he had like simple stencils, but it was still an original Banksy for like $60, $70.
Well, did you ever see the video? I forget, was it Yo-Yo Ma or somebody like that, where they went into like the train station, the subway, nobody paid attention
to him. And then they played at the opera the next
night. Yeah, to a sold out crowd.
But I guess that's my question is like, art is worth what it's worth.
Yeah.
Like your painting might be worth $6,000, but to me, if it's worth $1,000, but to somebody else, it might be worth $30,000.
It's all where it's at.
Like it really is. It's worth what somebody's willing to pay for it.
So how do you value it?
I value my art by, honestly, all my shit is like discount. Like when
even at a high price, it's I believe you.
At $8,000, that's like super discount. What I want for my art is Basquiat prices, 60,000.
So, but how, like, in other words, like, how do, like, your peers, right? Mm-hmm. So other artists I hope that you talk to artists. Mm-hmm. Is it okay, time and material, or is it?
It's all about the concept and idea. And that's what, like, I follow this one real famous international artist. His name, Fahamu Peku. And
again?
What?
Fahamu Peku?
Yeah, you got it.
Oh, okay, good.
And
where's he from?
He's from the same town I'm from in Hartsville, South Carolina.
Get the fuck.
Same town and everything. It's weird. He's a little bit older than I am. So by the time I got in high school, he already graduated and moved to Atlanta and went to art school there. Mm-hmm. Art school. And now he's like this real famous international artist. But I've seen his art in person, and technically, like just the skill wise, we're even. Maybe I think my technical skill may be a little bit better than his.
Objectively.
Yeah. Because he uses acrylic paints. I use oil paint, so it's different medium, different format. But like some of his smaller pieces are $30,000.
What?
There's
easy, like $30,000.
Do you know Hunt Sloanham or
his little bunnies sell for $8,000.
Yeah, dude.
A little teeny bunny painting.
What Hunts do?
Oh yeah.
$8,000.
Yeah, and it's basically
it's one brush stroke, like
it's one move
of bunny, and so it's not like the technicality.
Yeah, you're paying for the name,
who you are.
So it's like the Louis Vuitton of.
Yep.
It's kind of like with guitars. Like Gibson and Epiphone are the same company. There's minimal differences between the two guitars, but you will pay double to triple for a Gibson than you will an Epiphone.
I won't, because I don't know what that means. Because I sang in a band. The technical stuff, I was like,
do you know what I'm talking about?
Well, Epiphones are made in Korea.
Oh, here we go. Is that the difference?
Well, that's the thing. I think they're made in different places. So, like, you could get you could get a U.S. Fender, like a Strat that's made in America.
Yeah.
Or you could get a Mexican Strat. What? It's just the quality of the material is a little bit lesser, and that's how they bring the prices down.
There you go.
But it's still,
made by slave children
or whatever.
I mean, is it sonically equivalent?
They have different sounds because they have different electronics in it and everything.
I never thought that.
Well, I mean,
if the wood is different, it's going to have a different sound.
See, now, like all of this is fascinating to me because right now I'm at the point where like I'm just like 2 months off. I'm now like deeper into crazy shit, and
that's what happens when you spend too much time by yourself.
I know. I should pick up acrylics.
It's gotten bad.
And no, I mean, but
your friends don't really help you either.
No, you're all pieces of shit.
I send them all the weirdest memes.
Yep. I love them though, Travis. I love them. I get shit from Travis every day. Something crazy every day. And I'm like, oh, this is awesome. Some of it's really, really funny. And some of it's really like, the CNC Music Factory things that make you go, you know what I mean? Like a lot of it is but it's like everything you send to me to some degree is like thought provoking.
Yeah.
And then I'm just like, hey, watch this guy throw a pizza out a window onto a woman's face or
funny.
something.
We need funny stuff.
Yeah, we need to laugh. Why has everybody forgot to laugh?
I don't know, man.
Do you notice that?
Yeah.
Like everybody's too goddamn serious right now.
Yeah. I know it's like just speaking to strangers walking down the street. Hey, motherfucker don't say hello or hi or hey or anything.
Nothing?
Like, just like,
That's more of a northern thing, though.
I know. That's
yeah. My buddy's from Georgia. He's like, man, up here, all you guys are just like miserable.
Yeah.
I had when I was down south, I met a girl from New Jersey, and she says she was in a grocery store and just walked through the parking lot. She's like, 2 people spoke to me like, hey.
Yeah.
And I was like, I didn't know what to do. I'm like, you say hello.
Yeah.
People just say hello when they see you.
My wife thought I was from another planet when we first met. Because she's from New Jersey. I'm from right outside of Nashville.
Keep it quiet.
And I just like talking to everybody. Hey, how you doing? Yeah, saying sir and ma'am. Calling random girls at the, Wendy's drive-through, honey. She's like, why are you talking to her like that?
There's something to be said about like Southern hospitality is a real thing.
It's a real thing. It really is.
Yeah.
And you grew up your whole life down there.
You're
like your childhood at least.
The most important years. Yeah, from
0 to 7.
No, 8 to.
That's why you're a better person.
18.
Where were you before that?
In Philadelphia.
Like Will Smith?
Mm-hmm.
Was it West Philadelphia?
Southwest.
Oh,
58th in Baltimore.
Yeah.
What was that like? I mean, what do you think about Philadelphia now?
I would never, ever go back to that city.
It's a shit.
It is a shitty place.
Yeah.
Was it a shitty place then?
It was real bad. So
it was real bad when you were a kid?
It was from my youngest memories. It was bad then. And then I moved to South Carolina, grew up. And when I left South Carolina, I went back to Philly when I was like 18, 19. And it was a shitty place then, and it's gotten progressively worse.
Yeah.
So that's like late 90s-ish, right?
99, 2000. Yeah.
What do you think? So here's another thing that I'm fascinated about, right? So problems over time, right? Like if this is the first thing that came to my mind, but if you think about like a marriage that like breaks up, right? Probably the signs were there a long time ago about what was going on, right? And somebody who can objectively look at like, a 35,000 foot view in a relationship on a linear timeline can go, here's where some of the moments were that you had an opportunity to course correct and you didn't. Mm-hmm. What do you think happened in Philly? Like, what do you think is going on there?
I think,
because you grew up there and you went back there.
Yeah. I think a lot of the northern cities on the East Coast, they are still suffering from the crack epidemic.
You think crack still pervades? Yeah, but in a different form.
Exactly. It's
or the ripple effect of it.
Yeah, the addiction to opiates and barbiturates and all these other stimulants. They hit those big cities really hard. Like there's pockets of New York that are just still terrible. Pockets of New Jersey that's still terrible. Pockets in PA, like Philadelphia. It's just like they've never recovered fully from that shit. And like, I go there and like talking to one of my homies, his cousin just got locked up from crack. I'm like, people still smoke crack? Like it's 2022.
Yeah. Did we learn our lessons?
We have better drugs.
Exactly. Like there's a lot of different stuff. You're still selling crack. And it's like, and it's not as bad as it was, but
it's morphed into something arguably worse.
And now it's fentanyl and heroin and all these pills.
Carfentanil
but the addiction is still there. Like they never really recovered from that hard hit in like the late 70s and 80s when I was born. Like my mother was an addict. I have some other family members that are addicts, and that generation, like it was just tough.
I'm going to get your opinion on something. I actually just recently heard a politician suggest that in America, we should institute the death penalty for drug dealers. Like not weed, but like the fentanyl, the heavy stuff.
But not like the corner dealer, like the one who gets it to the corner dealer.
Right. Like death penalty. Because, and the rationale was that,
over the lifespan of it.
Yeah. This was like FBI, CDC statistics. It was over the lifespan of a drug dealer, he'll be responsible, or she, we're equal opportunity with our drug dealers, will be responsible for the lives of 500 people.
That's crazy.
Like the death of 500 people.
Yeah, so therefore, we will institute the death penalty for drug dealers. What is your thought on that? Not for doing, not for, possession, but.
Now, before you answer that, I would like to put this little caveat on it. At the beginning, if in the Harry Potter world where that happens, right? In the beginning, I think that people are looking at it as a future preventative.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll be successful, but the point they're looking at it is from like it, like, so maybe I don't want to say this. Maybe I'll say it. My wife has a relative who, is I think at the core, a good person just made bad mistakes.
Is your wife's relative her husband?
No, because I'm here and not in jail. But so the chart. What happened is she went and picked up a thing and dropped a thing off. Mm-hmm. What happened is that thing that she picked up and dropped off, even though she was the middle person, the charge was delivery resulting in death. Right. So. And I always had a problem with it because I'm like, this is just a broken person who did a stupid thing. Where it comes from, the source of it, that's who we should be going after. And I don't, that should be the person who gets charged with that. So I guess the way I perceived that comment about death penalty for drug dealers was not people that I'm related to, what they went to. It's more down the line.
Oh, I understand that. Like I say,
I mean, they're never gonna put the CEO of Pfizer on trial for killing 60,000 people for Paxlovid or not Paxlovid. What was that one medication? It killed 60,000 Americans.
The COVID vaccine?
No. That's going to be much higher. It was like a heart medication or something like that. Like I forget if you say the name. Dan, will you look it up?
It wasn't.
It was. I think it was the biggest. It was the biggest Pfizer settlement. I think it was like $4 billion. Oh
wow! But they have a whole different court for
the vaccine injury. Yeah. What was that? 1986.
Yeah.
So okay,
playing the same.
So here's. Did you ever hear this? Did you ever hear this whole shit about like how like it's the vaccine injury fund, something like that. Mm-hmm. So in the 80s, the pharmaceutical companies were telling the government like, hey, we're going to stop making vaccines. We're getting sued left and right. We're just going to stop making them because the cost benefit analysis is terrible. Right. So it's like you have a product that is killing people and you're spending so much money in litigation that it's just get rid of the product and you won't have to vaccinate anymore. The United States government gets involved and they said, no, don't do that. What we'll do is we'll create a vaccine injury fund and then the taxpayers will pay the settlements. But the process to get there is you have to sue. Like if you're vaccine injured, you can't sue the pharmaceutical companies. You have to sue the United States government.
What?
You didn't know this?
It's a weird process.
I knew of it. I didn't know the process. Though.
Yeah. So and it's like 1 in 1,000 actually get to the court, or 1 in 100, something like that. It's really crazy. And the Vaccine Injury Fund has billions of dollars in it, billions of taxpayer dollars to run interference or cover for the pharmaceutical industry. Yep. And we pay for that. It was I forget the name of the act. Did you find that that settlement? No. Did you not look it up?
I did. I could only find one about fraud though.
I think that's it because they lied about what the drug was. It was a big Pfizer thing. No, it was billions. That's not it. Look it up. It's Pfizer. Pfizer largest settlement in history or something like that. I think that's what it was. And you'll remember this drug. You'll remember it.
I hope.
Hey, I hit stop on the record and I hit record again.
Because you're an idiot.
Yeah. So just so you know, I guess there's 2 files there now.
Well, how long did it unstop for?
Like 2 seconds, like 1 second.
This is going to be great. It's going to be like 2 seconds.
Hey, welcome back, guys.
Yeah. Yeah. So I knew this stuff. I knew this stuff coming into like 2020. I knew that like I didn't know like totally about it, but I remember like hearing whispers of like, oh yeah, you can't sue the pharmaceutical
not directly.
Correct.
No.
Because
I didn't know that.
You can't, especially for vaccines. Now other products are different.
Well, then you can't have a mandate.
Yeah, but that was the other thing that like threw me for a loop when I don't know if you remember this, but I'm sure you paid attention to it, was when they were talking about the vaccines. One of the things that like they passed through on like a Friday night was that the pharmaceutical companies would be held harmless for liability for everything that happened, which I was like, that's a terrible thing. Cause that's like going up to Sam's and you're getting they give you the samples and they're not responsible for like making you ill.
Yeah, if you're allergic or you get sick off of it, hey, it was free sample.
Yeah, you took it. You decided to do that. We told you. See, so when you think about this stuff, like when you think about like what they do that we don't know about, and like the crack epidemic, like where did the crack epidemic come from? Like when you start really like figuring out like how that became pervasive, there's some pretty shady shit that went on for that to happen.
Well, there was not Noriega.
Was it Noriega? It was in the 80s.
Yeah, so
my granddad knew him.
That sounds terrifying.
Wow.
Your granddad knew Manuel Noriega?
Yeah, he used to fly him guns.
But yeah, so doing that.
See, this shit's real. It happens.
It's real life.
Apparently, Mike is a fucking descendant of a gun runner.
But trying to take Noriega out, we just took over his
now the CIA just does it.
Yeah, the CIA just took over his drug operation, and it's a part of the American economy. We can boost the economy if we bring the drugs in, and at the same time destabilize a lot of inner city cultures. And so they were flying that shit in firsthand. And like you say, taking out the people who bring the stuff in, because crack was all in the hoods, but you don't have any processing plants in there to take the coca leaf and actually turn it into the cocaine. Like nobody in the hood is processing.
Yeah, there's not warehouses.
It came from somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
there's not warehouses where like barefoot people are walking on the pressing the coca leaves.
No, they're not. And so this whole system of them even starting the war on drugs was like a two sides of the same coin. So they bring the drugs in, and so that's one market, and then you have a war on drugs, and that's a whole nother market. And so
to now increase budgets for law enforcement and fight an enemy that you created.
Problem, reaction, solution.
Where did you learn that? Where'd you problem, reaction, solution?
David Icke.
Are you a David Icke guy?
I like
to some degree.
Yeah, to some degree. I don't agree with a lot of what he says.
You shouldn't.
I agree with a lot of stuff he does say. So,
are you familiar with David Icke?
A little bit, just minute about.
Yeah, problem, reaction, solution. You cause a problem, you get the public to react to the problem, and then you give the solution that you already had planned out to start with.
That just makes so much sense after the past 2.5 years.
Well, they've been doing it throughout history. Yeah. It's not something.
Well, you always need a reason to go to war.
Yeah.
But it's not even just the war.
Burning of the Reichstag. And, allowing Pearl Harbor to happen, allowing 9/11 to happen,
Gulf of Tonkin,
problem,
all of the above.
Reaction, solution.
Yep.
So why? So especially in like those communities in Philadelphia, right? So the question, like I ask myself a lot, and this is why it's so awesome that like because you're an artist, is that you look. I think that a lot of artists look at the world through a lens that most blue collar people don't look through it because you're trying to find the beauty or the torture in a lot of things. So sometimes it's very eye opening to like, oh, what did crack do? So I think that because you're an artist, you have a unique perspective on it that isn't like this mainstream thought processes where it's like, look, no, let's take all the emotion out of it. Here's what happened. So when you look, I think, so I'm going to ask, like, the question I ask myself about the crack epidemic is like, why? Like, why would the government do something like that? And then like, is it so like the politics of it? It's like you start to campaign on fixing the problem that was created to fix the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because a destabilized community is a controllable community.
Yeah.
Do you think that's?
Yeah. So that's the crack epidemic. Late 70s, early 80s. That came right after the civil rights movement. And right on the tailgate of the civil rights movement was the Black Panthers and a lot of other organizations that were still trying to unify these communities and keep everything together. And things were looking positive for a while. And so we got to, once again, keep something in the mix so that we can maintain the control over these people.
Do you think if that, like, okay, let's fictionalize this for a second, right? Let's say crack didn't happen. Where would those communities be if crack didn't happen? Or do you think they'll find something else to screw them over? Like what happens in the Black Mirror world where crack was never introduced to the cities?
The NBA would be all white.
Do you think so?
And there would be way more black doctors and lawyers and engineers.
Holy shit. I never thought about it that way.
Who owns the NBA? Mostly a lot of white and Jewish guys. And that would have maintained the sport. Once again, they started letting the African American players in for control and using them as like pawns and puppets. But if we would have maintained a more stable community throughout the 60s, 70s, and 80s, it was on a very like progressive swing for a long time. And I think crack really
not like progressive, but progress.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so I
yeah.
don't want to, even though maybe that.
Don't
So
say progressive.
yeah, that's Burke your burden. I think about stuff like that a lot. I think about stuff where it's like, what could have been?
Yeah.
What was the thing? Because
One of my things is like, what if Malcolm X and Dr. King weren't assassinated? Like, what influence would they have had on that next generation, and what type of leaders would they have been able to produce? And then that generation would have been a generation to teach me, but they cut that short.
So Malcolm X, right? He had like a change of heart at some point, right?
Almost a 180. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you explain that?
Well,
Like, what was his point of view prior to that change of heart, and what was his change of heart? What did it turn into?
X being a part of the Black Muslims, with Elijah Muhammad and those guys, they were basically separatists, and they wanted a nation within a nation. And they kind of actually have achieved that, because the Nation of Islam really supports itself. They have their own school system, their own hospital system, without any government subsidies or funding or anything. So they wanted to create a nation within the nation. And but he found out like a lot of negative things going on with the leader of the organization, primarily with like taking underage girls as his wives and like doing
It got real weird.
Doing a lot of shady stuff with the money and everything. So they tried to silence him.
So it was corrupt.
Very corrupt at the core, you know. And so once they tried to silence X, he like left the organization and they labeled themselves.
But what did they do to try to silence him? What were some of the things that they did?
Who was trying to silence them? That's
No. I want to know what they did, and that'll lead us to
the leader himself, Elijah Muhammad. They basically have like a structure of
excommunicated and.
Well, before he was excommunicated, they just basically, the Nation of Islam themselves put a gag order on him and said, because he was so outspoken at the time, and his leader told him, you don't talk to the media, you don't talk to the news, you don't say anything until we tell you.
And for context, his popularity was getting up to Elijah Muhammad or surpassing him.
He
became the face of the organization.
Yeah. And that was the major issue, that people were listening to him more than to the teacher. And so they were afraid that he was going to have like a large portion of the group switch over to where he was headed. And so that's where the assassination came in. But prior to that, when he left, he actually went to Mecca. And
so he went to the Middle East.
Yeah. And so he didn't want to be a Black Muslim anymore. He wanted to be a Muslim, you know, and try to practice the faith and religion, you know, the regular, normal way, and not trying to be a segment of the religion. And in the book, he says, and when I was in Mecca, I saw people who you would consider European with blonde hair and blue eyes who loved me like my brother. And that's when I knew there was no difference between men, you know. And when he came back, that's when he started trying to reach out to Dr. King and see if they can merge their two movements, because he says it's not because you're a Muslim and you're a Christian and you're a Catholic. That's not the reason we're being oppressed. We're being oppressed for other reasons, and we need to focus on those reasons and not just the religious aspects that kind of separate our ideologies. And
because we're all just men.
we're just men.
Yeah.
Well, and a little while after that, they got them.
Well, and
but it was revolutionary
because like we've said this, and it's been interesting as we've done this with the podcast. Like we've said it over and over and over. It's not white. It's not black. It's not Christian. It's not Muslim. It's not, male, female, Republican, Democrat. It's the haves and the have-nots.
And that's what it is.
And as soon as the have-nots start to come together, can't have that.
No.
Because, it's like, I think it's hilarious. Like, even just as we're not hilarious, but like we're talking here now, it's like, oh, black communities are starting to get stronger. Like things are happening. There's progress being made. Can't have that. Here's some crack.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
here's some gangster rap music.
Yeah.
And they feed it in there and then bring back in the level.
Here
of
we
control.
are. Here we are 20, 30 years later, and look what we've got. It's like things are starting to go well. We can't have that. We got to bring it down.
Yeah.
Things across the globe are starting to go real well. We can't have that. We got to let some of that bat COVID out of the lab.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what was? I never looked at it like
that's 100%.
Things are going good across the globe. Let's put sand in the fucking gas tank of all of this.
Well, we always got to have some type of fear on every level, and especially on the global level. But it's hard to scare the entire globe. So you have to have these epidemics and rumors of war constantly.
We were also living in a very confident time through most of our lives. Like we growing up, like USA #1, like we're unstoppable. So the society itself is becoming more confident in itself also. So not everybody all around. So the government needs to kind of bring everybody back down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wait, you have to bring people down from being confident?
Well, yeah, because if you're confident, then you're not going to follow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Like in my head, I'm like, we are not free. Like in my head, none of us are.
We're not. We're probably one of the freest nations, like on paper.
Yeah.
But,
theoretically.
Yeah. And we have a lot of other niceties that other nations, since we're a first world, but nobody's really free. Nobody's free.
Yeah.
When did you realize that?
The first time I figured out that the Federal Reserve wasn't a part of the government. I think I was like 16 or 17. I was reading some stuff, and I think I was listening to some Alex Jones. And
can we talk about fucking Alex Nostradamus Jones for a second?
He gets a lot of stuff wrong, but he gets a lot of stuff right.
He's right significantly more often.
He gets a lot of stuff right.
We have to stop vilifying people for the one thing they said wrong.
Yeah.
The one or two things. It's like, if you look at the totality of you, right? Me, like if you and I have a conversation, we talk about some crazy fucking shit. Like there's probably some stuff where you're like, Mark's totally wrong about that, right? But I still like the guy. Like most of the time he's right. He's not trying to be like a mean motherfucker, and he's not trying to hurt anybody. But there are some things that people get wrong because we're not gods.
We're not. And we're all ignorant of something, we can't know everything.
So
that'd be a fun game for later, Dan. Find something we disagree on.
It's usually women. Usually that's the thing where it's like, we all got to type. But so when did you start listening to Alex Jones?
Because
you probably started listening to him when people were like, he's kind of funny.
Yeah. Like I was like 17, 18, I think.
It's like mid to late 90s.
Some of his earlier. Well, no.
He was on like public access.
Yeah, no, I had to be older than that. I was in my 20s. And the first time I was listening to somebody else before that. I had to be like in my early 20s, and I mentioned Jordan Maxwell to somebody, and then the guy is like, "You ever heard of Alex Jones?" And I'm like, "Nah." And so he gave me this little DVD with Alex Jones was like,
oh, because he used to sell DVDs.
Yeah, he was going around like the
yeah, man.
He was going around the national park saying how what it was,
turning all the frogs gay.
The UN or somebody was like taking control over the national parks in America.
Yeah,
and he was just trying to expose it, saying that America doesn't really own this land in America, because now it's been given over to the UN for like some world reserve properties. It was some weird stuff.
Oh, like almost like a nature preserve, under the guise of like a nature preserve.
Yeah, but it was run by the UN. He was like, technically America doesn't even own this anymore. And he's like, you see how we're just selling out to the globalists even back then. I was like, this guy's fucking crazy. I've never heard this before.
Yeah, so this is like the late 90s, right? You were listening to him?
Yeah.
Because I knew of him back then, too.
I didn't.
You didn't know of Alex Jones back then?
He had like this one little room with the blue sheet behind him, and it was like some really...
I wasn't aware of him until probably 10, 12 years ago.
No, I was aware of him. I went to film school in Orlando, Florida, and like there was a bunch of people who were like aware of him.
Yeah.
And they were like, you know, he was like a personality, like Carrot Top, but with truth.
Yeah.
You know, that's how people looked at him. Because you'd think that it was like this performance art, but then it would be like, but wait a second, man, he's not lying.
No, he's really telling us something.
And if
Speaking
he's not
of podcasts and people, you know who else I firmly believe is performance art and not who they really are?
Russell Brand?
Andrew Tate.
No, I think he's legit.
I think it's performance art.
I think some of it is, but I think for the most part, if you watch old footage of him during his fights and stuff when he wasn't a personality, he talks the same fucking way.
Yeah, but I think all the crazy over the topness is like all of
he's
it.
not wrong. 90.
I'm just saying it's a bit.
I didn't know who he was until he got canceled. And then I'm like, why did he get canceled? Because
So I knew who he was. From
Jones got
kickboxing,
canceled.
Yeah.
And the president got canceled. And I don't like silencing people. And it's like, what did he say so bad that got him deplatformed?
Well, listen, unless somebody's just coming out being a dick, if somebody got canceled, it's because they're saying something that the powers that be, the haves, don't want you to hear. I'm 100% convinced of that.
And then you look at the people who like it's almost like, you know, when they say like 4 out of 5 doctors recommend. I'm like, what's that one doctor? Why are they apprehensive?
He doesn't want to agree with everyone. He knows something.
Yeah. Because it feels awkward to not go along with the herd.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it takes balls to stand out there.
But that's
naked.
the person you want to listen to and ask their opinion. Like, why don't you agree with this?
Oh, because it'll kill you. Oh, okay.
But the other one said it'll only give me this and this and this and this side effect.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that is a really good way to look at the world, honestly, though. Like if 4 out of 5 recommend, I want to know what the one says. And then I want to go back to the other 4, but like, why didn't you tell me about this?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you recommend it if it does this?
Mm-hmm.
Because you got to know.
So
cost benefit analysis.
I think it's so healthy to be skeptical. I think it's so at your soul. I think it's so healthy to be skeptical. I think pragmatism has gone somewhere that I don't know where it is. I don't understand, you know, the behaviors of some people besides like, and people think I'm crazy for even having this idea where I'm like 500 years ago, this would be called magic. It would be a spell. Everyone's under a spell. And the people leading it would be considered Merlin or, you know what I mean? Like a witch doctor or something like that. And I don't like human behavior really hasn't changed that much over thousands of years.
No.
There's nothing new under the sun.
No.
Yeah, there's like it's the Matrix, man. It's Battlestar Galactica. It's happened before. It'll happen again, and it's just so. I've never been sadder over the last like 2.5 years, but I've also never felt more. My eyes are wide open, and that's a new thing for me.
But you're not sad for yourself though. You're sad for
I'm sad for other people.
Exactly. And that's how it is. Like the more you know, it's just like, wow, the average person is just a fucking zombie
or an NPC.
Yeah.
They're just some fucking character
on autopilot
in Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit more, and then we're going to try something new. So first of all, don't take this the wrong way, but this is going to be our first episode in color.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not going to do it black and white anymore. I'm going to do it in color.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you feeling okay? Like, did something happen?
I never noticed that.
It's always black and white.
Yeah, on social media, 99.9% of the pictures he posts are all black and white.
Yeah.
He loves black and white.
I noticed your photos.
Do you know why?
No.
Because I don't know how to color.
Damn.
Like, I don't know how to, like, if you, like, I've never.
I have a guy who knows how to do that.
I take tons of photos, right? I take them with actual like legit cameras but when it gets into the computer, I'm like,
try to color balance.
I don't know how to tone and I don't know how to color.
Do you want me to teach you?
You don't know how to do it either,
Yes,
motherfucker. No, you don't.
So when you're posting to Instagram, you go to the first filter to the right.
Oh my God, he's so lazy.
Set it at 50%.
He's so lazy.
And that's what I do to every picture.
And it's perfect.
It's
every
perfect.
time.
So, but what I can do is I can deal with contrast. So that's why like all my pictures are black and white, because I'm like, there's a consistency to them. Right. And to me, every photo I take should be very, very. I think sometimes the more grayscale is what, like 256 shades, and then when you get to colors, it's millions and billions.
Yeah.
I think it gets really, really. I want things to be just very like black and white, like very common sense. Like, here's people at a bike race. Here's a band playing. Like, deduce from it what you will. I don't want anything distracting you from it. But in essence, that's my bullshit answer to, like, I don't know how to color photos. That's why everything's black and white.
Black and white just looks good, though.
It does look.
It does. It does. Like, if you just get it right, man, it looks real. Because so when I got really interested in like film and photography and stuff, there was a guy named Ansel Adams. Have you ever heard of Ansel Adams?
I love Ansel Adams.
Ansel Adams. It was like early 20th century, very early 20th century, maybe like the 30s, 40s. He was a guy who would go out and he would do landscapes. Everything he did was landscapes, whether it was Yosemite or a desert or a mountain range, or it was never people. Very rarely was it people. And what he would do, his whole thing was he would wait for the right moment. Like he envisioned the picture in his head before he would go to where he was going. Or maybe he would go there for a couple of days to be like, okay, I need the sun to be here. I need the clouds to be like at this time of day.
Yeah. Yep.
And then what he would do is he would take the photo and then he would spend days doing something called like dodging and burning and stuff, which is like when you take a on film cameras, kids, you don't remember this. On film cameras, it's a negative. Mm-hmm. So when you develop it, it's when you hold it up to the light, it's the inverse of what the colors and contrast and everything is. So white would be black, red would be what's the opposite of like red?
I don't know my primary color.
Yeah. So, but that's what it would be, and people know what it looks like. So to get it back to color, you have to take another picture. And that's those machines that shoot down the image on the developing paper, like whether it's 8.5 by 11 or whatever you're going to do. Mm-hmm. And then you hit the trigger and it comes down. But what you can do is you can now manipulate that image. So dodging and burning is like, okay, I'm going to re-expose this on the paper, on the print, mm-hmm. but I'm going to block this. So like, let's say like the sky could potentially be overexposed. So you have like a little wand. And as you hit the thing, and it has to be on for like, let's say 6 seconds, 9 seconds, whatever, but you start doing math in your head. It gets really crazy. So you start wiping it as you're going across. So you're not allowing it to have as much development time as light exposed to it. So his photos, can you pull up some Ansel Adams stuff? Look at that. Sorry, you got to turn around, Travis. We couldn't get the TV working. But that's what he would do. He would go through and that's all dodging and burning. So like on the sides, right? So like, see where the clouds are up top there? So on the sides, he would actually hold like you can make shapes. You can do whatever you want. You could slide it.
I didn't know any of that.
Oh, yeah. And that's how photography was
really good at photographs.
No, he would spend hours and days.
Find the one of the tree.
To get the bright highlights.
Perfect exposure.
Nice
see if you find the one of the trees.
Perfect
one of my
exposure.
Photos ever.
Ansel Adams tree.
Yeah.
Dodging and burning.
I can't remember exactly.
It's so funny watching Dan multitask. Like he's doing the switcher, he's looking shit up, and then he's Ansel Adams tree.
Dan the man.
Do any of those look right, Micah?
I don't know. I can't see.
Dan, pull it up. Go to 4. Is that it?
No, it's not the one I'm thinking of, but there's a tree. It's like on a mountaintop. It's one of my favorite pictures ever.
Go back.
It's so simple, but it's just unbelievably good.
Do you like any of this stuff, Travis?
I do.
Do you like stuff like this?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's why it was black and white photography. You know what else is really like gets me going? Architecture that's properly lit at night. I for some reason I always liked the Wilkes-Barre Courthouse at night. I don't know why I've always liked it.
I don't think I really paid attention to it.
You never paid attention to it?
Not at night, no.
Oh,
is
dude,
it like you like everything looking like Batman?
Well, the uplighting. It's a little gothic. Yeah. I like that. Well, I like high contrast stuff like that. I like
the inside of that building is gorgeous though.
It's really amazing too. Do you ever go up like all the way up to the top where the dome is?
No.
Dude, you get like real weird vertigo in there. Yeah, and it's just wide open. And the reverb in there is just really bizarre. Yeah. Did you find that tree? Museum of Modern Art. Bunch of douchebags telling you what's right. No, dude, but that's an Instagram photo.
I don't know.
That's a photo I took. That's a photo I took down at like in Pittston by the river. You're terrible, Jamie.
Look at all of these trees I need to look at.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Making it big. Make that the whole screen.
It's okay, Dan. You don't have to.
Yeah, let's take a quick peek.
Scroll. Oh, there it is.
Which one?
Like bottom left now.
That one.
That's right.
That's
Dan.
right.
That one.
Yeah, I think that's
blow that up.
That's it. It's just one of my favorite photographs ever. I think that's it.
Dan does not know how to Google.
Yeah, I don't. Do you know how computers work, Dan? Or like,
no clue.
What are you doing?
I don't know.
It looks great.
That's the picture.
I don't know why. I just love it.
There's actually hiking trails around here that you could probably find something that looks like that and take that photo.
Does it say where he took that at?
I think it's Yosemite.
He's a lot of it was like Midwest. Like a lot of it would be like west of the Mississippi. So he would go like to the Rockies. He would go, like Oregon, California. Like the dude was just, and he was alone. Most of it was alone.
Yeah.
Wow. He was like, he'd get his backpack guy. And it was just, and it was like a big camera too. It was a large format camera.
Okay.
Yeah. So a large format camera is, so they have, everybody knows that like the clicky thing, that's a small format camera. They have medium format camera, and then they have large format cameras. It was a big, so he knew that like if he could blow it up, like all that detail would have been there. So if he wants to make like a big print, he would have the latitude so that you wouldn't get like close to it and be like, oh man, this is just blowing. Yeah, now it's out of focus. Well, it's not pixelated because at that time
it wasn't pixels.
Yeah. So what were we talking about before before we got distracted by Ansel Adams?
Oh, I think we've started 18 different conversations that we haven't finished yet.
Go Blacky Teppy.
We were talking about how art is.
Hold on.
Oh, this is the first color episode.
That's right.
This is the first color episode.
Oh, Marky did a little racism. It's okay.
It was a joke.
It was funny too. So.
Yeah. So see,
I said that to.
Is it racist if people laugh?
No, it's not.
Yeah.
I said that to one of my friends who just so happens to be black the other day. I was like,
he just happens to be.
Is all racism bad? He was like, no, I don't think so. I'm like, yeah.
Some of it's funny.
Some of it's hilarious. And some of it's good.
What's an example of humorous racism?
I love watching Karen videos.
Yeah.
Those are the funniest shit.
Wait, with them overreacting to people? Oh, dude. But that's a mental illness, don't you think?
I swear. I don't know what.
What happened to suburban progressive white women?
I don't know.
What do you notice something happened where it's like, what is like some of them have gone batshit crazy.
Too many Quaaludes, man.
They should bring Quaaludes back.
They should
have never got rid of Quaaludes.
I don't want them, but the world was a better place when they were in full circulation.
The Quaaludes were fucking phenomenal, from what I understand. I know a guy who like a couple years ago, he's like, you're not gonna believe this. I'm like, what? He goes, I was going through my grandmother's house. I found like a whole bottle of fucking Quaaludes. And I'm like, what do you do? And
don't they lose power after a certain amount of time?
They lose a little bit of power, but there's still fucking Quaaludes. Did you see The Wolf of Wall Street?
I watched parts of it.
Okay.
I watched parts, so I don't think I made it all the way through.
I was apprehensive to watch it.
It's a long watch.
I watched it and I'm like, this is the best comedy of whatever year that was. Yeah. It was just so batshit insane, and it was just the moment where they take the Quaaludes. And I remember like growing, like when you and I grew up, like people that we like comedians would be like Carlin, Dennis Leary, like those guys. And I remember Dennis Leary's comedy show where he was just like fucking ludes, man. And he would talk about Quaaludes, and I would ask my drug buddies, I'm like, what is a Quaalude? And
what is this shit?
Yeah, what is it? And he's like, they would give it to women for postpartum. Does that seem right, Dan?
I think so.
That's what it was prescribed for originally.
Yes, for postpartum depression. Yeah. So like when we talk about
so it's an upper.
No, it's like lose your fucking mind.
It's like a drink, isn't it?
A mood stabilizer.
Yeah, and it would just be like, but everybody would walk around like crazy fucking zombies. It was almost like heroin. Like it was like, but it was legal. It was like, yeah. Oh, Susie's all whacked out. And she's like, well, doctor told me I could have it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, my happy pills.
Which is like the opioid epidemic. It's like there's so many people who got caught up.
Prescribed.
Yeah, they're like, this is okay. My buddy's dad, like huge fucking pillhead. And he's in his whole thing is like, well, the doctor told me to.
Yeah.
And it's like these guys are no different than the dudes on the corner slinging rock. Like the pharmaceutical companies and the doctors and the hospital systems. I'm like, if you get rid of hospitals, right? Hospitals are just an avenue for people to dole out drugs, right? So whether you get
do some good. Obviously.
Yeah, but what happens after that? You're there in an emergency, and immediately after that, you're getting a prescription before you leave.
Well, that's why I don't mess with anything.
You know,
because when I did my knee the first time, they gave me a bottomless prescription of Vicodin. And I was in college trying to play sports and, I had a little bit of a scholarship.
Yeah, now you're masturbating on subway buses.
Almost. So I was just popping them because I kept trying to work out in rehab, and I was just popping them like candy. And then I woke up in the hospital one day.
Which is the hospital thing where because during this whole last 2.5 years, because I'm going to say this now because it's on the fucking CDC website now. There were people in hospitals around here who would not prescribe ivermectin for people to defeat COVID. It is now as of like 2 or 3 days ago, it's on the goddamn website as something you can use to treat fucking COVID. And I remember thinking, I'm like, it's a medicine that won't kill you.
But they called Joe Rogan a liar.
No, horse paste. Yeah. That's what was pissing me off. But then I thought about it. I'm like, who are these people to have the right, that like pharmacists or hospitals or any of that shit, to say you can't have that, which is because it's organized crime.
You're taking money out their pocket if you do it the easy way like that. You need to take this new vaccine that we just made,
because the other ones didn't work.
Yeah,
the first 4 didn't work. So trust us that
the 2 boosters.
See, and I think we're at the hour. Let's jump over to see if people want to pay for this.
I think it's time.
Hey, we're gonna hop out of this. Hey, hope you guys like this for right now. But if you want, you can subscribe. Apparently, subscribe on Spotify and shit. So if you want to hear more of this,
the second half is bottomless.
Yes, like Vicodin. Hey, have a great week. Talk to you soon.